That raises another question, because I know you've been, obviously you're on this show, tremendous, but you've also been on PBS, you've been on many NPR stations, you've been in multiple magazines. I watched part of a Japanese newscast featuring you, and then of course, you were at NATO, right?
Nine
Giving
Nations.
speeches, signing books.
Mhm.
So, and you've been in schools across the country. This is a huge mission, spreading this awareness. Is there a way to ever feel like it's complete, or is it going to be ongoing forever?
I sadly think it'll be ongoing, at least for the time being that I can do it, I would think. I think it's going to take some time for everything to, well, if we could get to where we had no nuclear weapons, but I think that the message is going to have to take some time to get out there. So I don't foresee it being finished, but I also am happy that I get to talk with the students. You know, I really do love being able to do that. I love writing, and to be able to get back to it. And that is for the time that I'm allowed to write before the pain really sets in, it puts me someplace else. You know, it doesn't take the pain away, but it kind of takes my head away from it for a little while. And it's very cathartic for me. And I really do enjoy that piece of it. And so I try to work on other types of stories so that it's not just constantly on some more emotional issues, as far as like my mother's book and doing the sequel, you know. So I'm trying to look at other historical things that have happened and try to see how I want to write about those. And it really has helped a lot on the bad pain days. You know, even if I can only write a page in a journal, at least it's something. And I can consider that I did something today, because there are some days when the flare-ups are really bad that I can't, you know, get out of bed, and I can't even focus to read something or to watch something on TV. So I listen to audiobooks a lot, and I think that also helps me to want to be creative, because the more you read and the more you talk to authors and the more that you listen to books, the more that if you're creative and you like to be an author, I think the more that it inspires you, you know, to want to do that, to use that creativity. And I know you have a lot of it, because I've been reading your book, and I just find that that's so, I'm sure that in some way it helps take you from, you know, whatever's going on and puts you someplace else, and you can use your creativity. And I just think that writing helps a lot with me physically and emotionally through this. Again, I think I got off tangent. I'm sorry.
You're doing a tangent away. My show is your show. Go for it.
You're kind.
Before I started doing this show, well before, when I first started writing, I could occasionally indulge in the fantasy that this is really good. I might be the greatest writer who ever lived. This might be the most amazing book that will ever be. And then, of course, reality set in. People pointed out all the reasons that the basic improvement journey that I think every author takes. But then doing this show, like, oh no, I'm not even in the top 50% of writers. Talking with so many authors, so many incredible. I'm being self-deprecating, of course, but it does give a sense of perspective of, you've got to bring your A game. Look how many amazing authors are out there in the world, and if there's a chance that somebody might read my book instead of one of theirs, you got to make sure that it's up to par.
Very true. It is a lot harder, I think, than you realize until once you get into it. And how there are so many great writers out there, and how it takes so long to sometimes be discovered, and that, you know, that sometimes you will have that person who gets picked right away out of the slush pile. You know, that happens, but the majority of the time, it's more of redoing, submitting, and then it's the, I don't know how you feel about this, but there's so much subjectivity when it comes to judging your writing. You know, I would get something from one publishing house saying, oh, I love the voice of this character, but, you know, I wasn't quite sure about the setting. And then somebody else would say, oh, I love the setting, I wasn't quite sure about the voice. And you're going, oh my gosh, you know, who am I going to please? And I guess then too, you know, if you have faith in what you're doing and you want to keep pushing through, then you know where you want to be. And I think that's what you keep striving to go. And eventually you will find, you know, that editor, that person who wants to support you with the message that you're trying to bring. They may need you to change a few things, but they'll get it, you know, just where you're seeing it. And I think at times I was really wondering, do I have to change what I'm doing and how I'm presenting the story? And I'm glad that eventually I really didn't. But I know you think about it, because when you get rejections, nobody likes that. But I've also found if you really want to write, then you just really got to keep at it, and you have to write it not because you want to be a bestseller, because I'll tell you, middle grade fiction, debut author, you're not making a lot of money.
I'm just, you're talking to me on a golden laptop.
Yes. So, so you really have to write because you just want to so badly. And, I know that sometimes you ask this question, and maybe I'm going too early, about what to say to other aspiring writers or authors, or, and my thought has always been is that don't wait for that perfect time. Because at times I would say, well, I'll write it later, I'll do this, but then I got sick, and it was kind of like, okay, so now how do you realign things? But to just write that first sentence or draft, because you can fix it later, but you can at least start. And I think sometimes once you get on a roll of doing that, then you kind of get into some pattern in how you're writing. And if you keep waiting for that day to do it, or waiting to find that right person who's going to agree with you, you may never get to write that really great book. And so to me, it's like, just, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to come from the heart, and then you can kind of work from there. As far as that goes. And that's what I keep reminding myself when I'm trying to do my stuff.
You can replay this clip the next time you're thinking about not
exactly.
I want to be the writer today that I sounded like when I was on.
That's right.
It happens to me all the time.
Exactly.
Well, for all of my workshop students who are listening, who hand me crummy excuses about why they didn't do their writing, because there was a TV show they really wanted to watch, but they just didn't feel it on a day. With you who are dealing, you have a very good excuse not to write. You've got physical pain. You've got things that would stop you. Have you overcome that? What does your writing day look like when you're dealing with them?
Well, on a bad pain day, usually my best time is the morning. So I'm usually up very, very early. And I have my coffee, and then I just try to write in my own journal to kind of see if I'm going to have the energy or the wherewithal to try to work on, an actual book. And I take that first half hour of just kind of writing anything that comes to mind. And then if I'm not as in much pain, then I decide, all right, well, then maybe I'll try to open up my, where I am with my writing for that. But I also have to be, I'm my own worst critic, and I get very upset with myself if I can't just sit there and write. I wish I could do it for 2 hours straight, but I can't. And I've tried to train myself so that I kind of set a timer so that I can stop, maybe rest a little bit or do something else, and then come back to it and do it again. So maybe I can get more time in. I used to always be more like, I got to do so many thousand words at once, or I got to do 2 hours in a chunk. And for some people, they, obviously that works for them. But for me, I kind of had to learn okay, if you went 2 hours straight, you're not gonna be able to move afterwards. You're gonna really be suffering, and then you lose tomorrow on top of it. So it was more of trying to balance how that is. But like I said, with the writing, I do find myself to be most happy on the days that I really get a chance to write. Even if it's just to research and to write some notes, I don't know, it energizes me, and it refocuses me. And it just kind of inspires me to want to keep doing it. And I think of my mom, and I think of the strength that she had to go through what she went through, to move to another country, to deal with the prejudice that she dealt with. So that kind of emboldens me that, okay, well, if she could do that, I can try a half hour of writing and see how my pain level is, and kind of go from there. So that's usually what I use to energize me.